Céidigh.
No, just a couple of comments, and apologies, I was a little bit late. I was held up at another meeting. And I found your presentation or the answers to the questions very helpful to me because I have a lot to learn about this. First of all, I believe that public transport is critically important to our economy, to our society. I strongly agree with Michael Taft there when he mentioned that we need to look at the wider impact of public transport. It's not just in pounds, shillings and pence. It's a lot more than that, and a lot more significant than that. And I would really appreciate if consultants, if we have to get consultants, that consider all of the other factors that's involved in, as well. I think that point was very well made, and I appreciate that point. Also, I think there was an ERSI study in around 2009 or 10 that showed that people are travelling to and from work at least 7 hours a week. That's, in other words, one full day a week, more or less, that people are travelling to and from work. I believe public transport can help us significantly in relation to the overall productivity of people coming and going from work. And I know, Catherine, we're almost up at time, so I won't be very long. I appreciate that. There's a couple of factors, though, also I believe that's important. If you look at, in a macro sense, my income and expenditure, income is made up of two parts. One is PSO and the other one is passenger income, fundamentally. And expenditure is made up of a very high, you've highlighted also, very high fixed cost with low variable cost. And you have to have a certain number of staff there available. I strongly agree, very strongly agree, that there should be a living wage and people should have a minimum income to survive and live in our country. That's really important to me. Also, on the other hand, though, competition is important to me. It's really important that we actually look at how do we need to reinvent ourselves? How can we be competitive? How can we compete in order to be better? Like, for example, in an industry that I have had some involvement, aviation, if you look at Ryanair coming on and wouldn't necessarily be my greatest friends, coming on the UK market, and the price depletion that happened as a result of that. Now, one needs to be careful because you can go too far in that, because you can create, as Mr. Taft said also, a kind of monopolistic situation. But quite frankly, that was hugely positive for the Irish consumer and the Irish public transport. I've also another point. The level playing field is really important for everybody. I believe for private operators plus for you and your members. And I actually believe that the procurement process here in Ireland needs to be totally revisited. I think you made a very good point there in relation to, say, French companies coming in. It's not only happening in transport, it's happening in other sectors of Irish society where we in Ireland are not in a level playing field whatsoever. And I believe that procurement needs to be seriously looked at here in Ireland and how it's done. But just one last point, and this kind of bothered me a little bit, in relation to looking at contracts of employment of people who work in, drivers who work with private companies. I don't think, it's fair to make a general assumption in relation to that. Personally, I believe, in what I've seen, that the contracts of employment, ones that I've seen, in general terms, are certainly very competitive, what I've seen. Now, there may be exceptions. You could have the tractor at the ploughing championship and you can point the finger at anybody. But I think we're better off get out of the small thing and look at the big picture. But I strongly believe that there is a future, a very important future for public transport in Ireland.
Thanks, Senator. Thank you very much. Yeah, please, if there's anyone